The blame game over the floods is so political. Labor saying, oh, it's all the Prime Minister's fault. Where were the soldiers? But where were the bureaucrats from Water Infrastructure New South Wales? In fact, last Thursday during the flood disaster, they took time out for a big laugh. They took part in a laughter therapy session like this, paid for by you, to supposedly lower their stress.
Okay, instead of drinking it, we're going to lift it.
Joining me is Sky News reporter Danica Giorgio. Danica, this, I got to say, is just amazing. Now, to be honest, being made to go to something like this and made a laugh, that just add to my stress. It wouldn't ease it one little bit. But how did this particular exercise happen? How did it get approved? And particularly approved at a time like this with so much of New South Wales underwater?
Yeah, it's certainly extraordinary timing given the true and sheer extent of the flood crisis we've just experienced in New South Wales. And it happened within a department that was also tasked to assist with the flood recovery. So this all occurred last Thursday. It was approved and organised by Water Infrastructure New South Wales. They paid a man by the name of Merv Neal $550. He runs Laughter Yoga. They paid him this money to essentially make these bureaucrats laugh. They got together, they had this session, and it apparently is supposed to reduce anxiety and reduce stress. So 160 bureaucrats from this department took part in this online session. Now, it was essentially wedged between a planning meeting for future infrastructure projects, but the timing could not have been worse. In the background of all of this, of course, there were mass evacuations going on, not only in Sydney, but in the Northern Rivers region. Tragically, people lost their lives and emergency services were also working around the clock. Now, the Department of Planning and Environment Water Group, which also includes Water Infrastructure New South Wales, they say that this laughing event was planned late last year and that nobody who took part in the workshop was directly involved in the recovery of water infrastructure. But certainly, Andrew, the timing, it's no laughing matter, let alone the fact that it was actually paid for by the taxpayer.
What does the CEO of the Water Sector New South Wales say? What does the Minister say?
Well, the CEO of Water Sector New South Wales, a man by the name of Jim Bentley, he released a statement to Sky News earlier today. He said that I've been clear with my senior executive team that it was wrong to hold that event last Thursday and that should never be repeated. He went on to say that while the well-being of staff is certainly important, that the fact that a laughter exercise was carried out, even if it was only for about 15 minutes, the timing was simply inappropriate. So he's acknowledged that the timing could not have been worse. It's a sentiment that has been echoed by the New South Wales Water Minister, Kevin Anderson. He says that this did not pass the pub test. He's called it insensitive, and he also said it overshadowed the work that the department has been doing on the flood crisis.
Oh, for goodness sake, Danica. Danica, you know I've always admired you for your sturdy good sense, your independence and all that. Would you ever go to a thing like this where you were made to laugh to ease your stress?
Well, look, from a personal perspective, it's not really my thing, and I can understand why people might do it, Andrew, that they need an outlet to laugh. I mean, the news cycle has been extremely depressing, but I don't think any of us in the newsroom would have had time to do something like this over the last few weeks. It's been absolutely catastrophic. Having said that, though, people do enjoy this sort of an outlet. Would you find Danica Giorgio at one? I've got to say, probably not. And Andrew, I can imagine, by the way you're speaking, you feel the exact same way.
It's so true. Danica, I knew you wouldn't let me down, but I tell you what, you know why people prefer to do this? Because then they don't have to do work. No wonder. I mean, I'd be laughing too. Danica Giorgio, thank you so much for your time.